And execution in its purest forms is about three things. It's about people, it's about relationships, and it's about love. Love for ourselves, love for each other, and love for what we do every day. Now, obviously, that's not a word that we hear tossed around corporate America very often. In fact, I would suggest to you folks it's probably the most misunderstood word in our business vocabulary and absolutely the most underutilized. I also will tell you that when I entered into my business vocabulary in 1981, it changed my life, both personally and professionally. You're going to hear me use that word throughout this the whole time we're together, so let me draw three distinctions for you to get you comfortable with it. First of all, let me define love for you at the professional level. Love at the professional level for ourselves is simply about faith in who we are and confidence as we approach our life each and every day. Love for each other is simply about trust and mutual respect for one another. And of course, love for what we do every day, that's about our passion. So that's the first distinction. The second one, and this one is absolutely critical. This is, to me, is the absolute most important thing about this whole message. It is not an unconditional love without responsibility. It's a conditional love with consequences attached to it. Now, that's tough for all of us because it's a paradox. See, unconditional love, it's the bond between parent and child, right? It's also at the core of our marriage values. But folks, it's the same thing that gets in the way of us providing people honest feedback, which allows them to develop and experience their God-given potential. There were times at the Berry Company when I told people, I love you, you just don't get to work here anymore. I can tell you this, it was always in their best interest, not mine, and not the Berry Company. So make sure you understand the difference between unconditional and conditional love, because I'm going to get to this a little bit later and talk to you about that in a much deeper way. The third distinction, as I said, I'm from a very large Italian family in Pittsburgh, and I happen to be the family eulogist. Now that sounds kind of not so good, but it really was, because most of them lived for long lives. My Uncle John, who raised me after my dad died when I was 10 years old, was an amazing man. When I wrote his eulogy, I said that he taught us that blending strength of character and love for your fellow man does not weaken one's womanhood or manhood. And it's interesting because I think we have Bob Quinn, and Pat mentioned the Center for Leadership. Bob Quinn is one of our thought leaders. He's at the University of Michigan. And Bob was there a couple of years ago, and I heard him say something that was very interesting. He said, transformative leaders are enormously demanding, but they're also enormously caring. And I would submit to you that's where I think we get in trouble. If I were to build a matrix for you, and it's going to be hard for some of you to see this. I apologize. Let me move it out a little bit. If I were to build a matrix and it said simply that this was the demand side of the model and this was the caring side, and we graphed it out, I would submit to you that we're probably pretty good on the demand side, most of us. I would also suggest that we're probably somewhere down here on the caring side. And so if I take it from here to here, and this is where I want to be, that's our gap. Now, please, I am convinced that any time as a leader, teacher, coach, parent, friend, that we've had any impact on anybody's life, we didn't do it with our head, we did it with our heart. And see, the problem is too many people think this exposes their vulnerability. I would suggest to you it exposes our uniqueness as a human being. And so those are the three distinctions. Okay, is you okay with that one?